I've been in a coma for 6 months after a car accident. When I finally woke up, the first thing I heard was something sloppy happening in my hospital room. My girlfriend, Quinn Simpson, was there, kissing Chad Scott, her true love. Chad looked uneasy, glancing at me every few seconds. "Quinn, don't do this," he whispered. "I heard coma patients can still hear things. What if Mateo hears us?" Quinn scoffed, completely unbothered. "So what? He's a vegetable. Probably won't ever wake up. It's better this way, isn't it? Didn't you say you liked living on the edge?" They trashed me right in front of my face. I could even feel the contempt in Quinn's voice. When they finally left, they didn't notice the effort it took for me to crack my eyes open, but the nurse who walked in next did. She spotted the movement instantly and slammed the emergency button. Once I began regaining strength, the first thing I did was send a message to my parents. "Mom, Dad, I'll go through with the arranged marriage." The moment my mom saw the message, she called me, crying with relief. "Finally," she said. "You've come to your senses." After a few brief conversations with them, I told them I'd be leaving Sanderville in 3 days to join them abroad. I turned off my phone just as Quinn walked into the hospital room. She froze when she saw me awake. Surprise flickered across her face before she quickly composed herself and opened the lunchbox she was carrying. "Chad made you some chicken soup," she said, setting it on the table. "Drink it while it's hot." I didn't move. She frowned slightly and softened her tone. "I know you're not a fan of chicken soup, but it's good for your recovery. Just a few sips, okay?" I looked at her. There was concern in her eyes, real, maybe. But this was the same woman who had just been cuddling Chad in this very room. I couldn't tell who she was anymore. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Chad walked in, head to toe in designer brands. When he noticed the untouched soup, he chuckled. "Come on, Mateo. I spent hours making that. Even burned my hand a few times." Without thinking, Quinn reached out to check his hand like it was second nature, then remembered I was watching. Her hand froze midair before she pulled it back with an awkward smile. "Just drink it, okay? Chad made it for you." When Chad left, Quinn mumbled something about work and rushed out after him. A nurse came in to check my vitals. While adjusting the fourth, she casually mentioned that a couple had just been kissing in the hallway. I just smiled and said nothing. Later, I signed myself out early and headed straight to the apartment Quinn and I shared. She was on the couch watching TV while Chad moved around in the kitchen like he owned the place. When she saw me, Quinn jumped up, startled. Her eyes darted toward the kitchen, but I had already noticed the kiss marks on her neck, fresh and bright. My fists clenched on instinct, but I forced myself to stay calm. Just 2 more days, and I'd be gone. I wasn't here to fight. But Chad clearly hadn't gotten the memo. He brought the dishes out and smiled. "Hey Mateo, perfect timing. I made too much. Want to eat with us?" He motioned for Quinn to grab an extra bowl. She glanced at me cautiously. When she saw how calm I looked, she finally relaxed. I didn't answer Chad. Instead, I turned to Quinn with a half smile. "Looks like you had a good time while I was unconscious." Her face froze for a second, then she forced a laugh. "Mateo, what are you even talking about? Chad was just helping out because I was overwhelmed." Chad caught the tension. "If you don't want me here, I'll leave. But don't take it out on Quinn." He quickly packed up and left. Quinn's jaw tightened. "Mateo, he's still young. You scared him. Can't you be a little more polite?" Young? Chad was 25. I was 26. This was my place, why should I be the one backing down? I gave her a quiet, disbelieving laugh. Realizing how ridiculous she sounded, she added, "I mean, Chad's a guest. It's rude to kick out a guest, right?" Just then, her phone buzzed. A message from Chad. "Sorry Quinn. Maybe I don't deserve to be around you. I won't bother you anymore." She skimmed the message, locked her phone, and turned to me. "I have to head back to the office. Something urgent came up." I didn't ask. I just nodded. She rushed out, even putting on mismatched shoes in her haste. Before leaving, she said, "Wait for me, okay? I'll bring your favorite dessert. A peace offering." 3 hours later, I had finished packing. It was 6 p.m. and she still hadn't returned. Out of boredom, I scrolled through my feed. Chad had posted 2 photos just 30 minutes earlier. Caption in red, "She waited in line forever just because I said I was craving it. Love you, my queen." One photo showed Quinn in line at the dessert shop. The other was her smiling up at Chad, her eyes soft, glowing with affection. Just then, the door opened. Quinn entered, smelling faintly of Chad's cologne. She looked tired. She set down the desserts and gestured. Come eat. I stared at the kiss mark still on her neck and casually said, You've got something on your shirt. I didn't care about their mess anymore. I had one request, don't shove it in my face. She quickly took off her coat and smiled awkwardly. Someone must have brushed past me in the dessert line. It's nothing. I gave a noncommittal "oh" and said nothing. She opened the dessert box eagerly. Inside, tiramisu. The one dessert I couldn't stand. Her eyes lit up, waiting for praise. You don't like it? She asked after a long pause. When did you stop loving me? I asked, abruptly. She froze. What kind of question is that? Of course I love you. You know that. She was still wearing the bracelet I gave her 2 years ago. I had driven hours through a storm to get it, skidded off the road twice, soaked and shivering when I gave it to her. She had cried, made promises. If I ever betray you, may I be struck by lightning. I looked at her. But I don't like coffee. You forgot. Her face fell. She looked down, biting her lip. My bad. So many people, I just forgot. I stood and walked into the bedroom. She called behind me. Mateo, let me get you something else? I said nothing and closed the door. What was the point, Quinn? Even 1,000 desserts couldn't bring back the love I used to feel for you. She never came home that night. But I had stopped expecting anything from her a long time ago. Chad walked through the door like he owned the place, like he had every right to be there. Maybe in his mind, he did. His eyes locked onto Quinn, completely ignoring me. He was slightly out of breath, holding a small golden wrapped box in his hand. There was something flickering in his expression, nervousness, arrogance, maybe even a hint of desperation. Quinn, he said quickly, you left this in my car. She went pale. Her gaze shot to me, then to the box, and back again. I didn't move. I just watched, expression unreadable. She reached out slowly, took the box from him, and tucked it behind her. Thanks, she mumbled, not meeting his eyes. Chad's brows furrowed. He noticed the suitcase near the door. His jaw tensed. Are you going somewhere? Quinn glanced at me for help, but I said nothing. Let her lie her way out of this. I was done protecting her from her own mess. She forced a smile. Just visiting my aunt. Mateo's helping me pack. Right, Chad said slowly, but his eyes didn't leave me. Funny, you never mentioned that when you left my place this morning. The silence that followed was sharp, slicing through the fake peace like a blade. Quinn's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her shoulders tensed. I stood. Quinn, I said calmly, I'll wait outside. Don't keep me waiting too long. Dinner reservations, remember? Her eyes widened slightly. She nodded quickly. Just a minute. As I walked past Chad, he stepped aside but leaned in slightly. I don't know what game you're playing, man, he whispered, but I'm not giving her up just because you woke up. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Let him think whatever he wanted. The game had already shifted. Outside, the air was crisp. I took a deep breath and checked my watch. Quinn came out 5 minutes later, looking flustered and off balance, like her mind was spinning in 10 directions. She tried to loop her arm through mine. I let her. Thanks for waiting, she said softly. I didn't respond. The ride to Clawscape was quiet. She fiddled with her phone. I glanced over once and saw she had opened a chat with Chad but hadn't typed anything yet. She noticed me looking and quickly locked the screen. You know, she began, forcing a cheerful tone, I always dreamed of coming back here with you. Like old times. I said nothing. The restaurant was crowded as always, but Quinn had made reservations. The host recognized her. Not me. That said enough. We were seated at a small table near the window. Candlelight flickered between us. Quinn looked stunning in the soft glow, but to me, she had never looked more distant. We ordered. She insisted on getting all the dishes I used to love. Used to. I watched her closely as she poured wine into our glasses, her hand slightly trembling. To us, she said, raising her glass. I didn't lift mine. She froze. Mateo. I leaned back. Let's stop pretending. Her face fell. You and Chad, I continued, voice even, how long? She blinked. It's not. Don't lie, Quinn. She swallowed hard. 2 months. After the accident. I thought you'd never wake up. I was lonely. He was there. I nodded slowly. And before the accident? She looked away. That was answer enough. I didn't feel the anger I expected. Just a strange calm. The kind that comes right before a storm breaks. You know what's funny? I asked, voice low. You promised to marry me if I woke up. That you'd wait forever. She looked like she wanted to cry. I meant it at the time. But you didn't wait, I said. Not even a week. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it back. Why did you come tonight? I asked. Why pretend? Her voice cracked. Because. I wanted to fix this. To make things right. I laughed quietly. You don't fix things by hiding them. You fix them by being honest. She looked down. Her phone vibrated. She didn't need to check it. We both knew it was him. I stood up. Enjoy your meal. Mateo, wait. But I was already walking out. The cold air hit me like a slap. I didn't know where I was going, just that I needed space. I pulled out my phone and messaged my parents. Change of plans. I'm flying out tomorrow. As I walked down the street, lost in thought, a car pulled up beside me. I turned. It wasn't a cab. It was a black luxury sedan. The window rolled down. Mr. Mateo Rios? The man inside asked. He was wearing a suit and dark glasses, even at night. Yes? He handed me an envelope. From your grandfather. He instructed us to deliver this upon your recovery. I froze. My grandfather passed away 2 years ago. The man simply nodded. He planned ahead. Please read it in private. We'll be in touch. The car sped off. I opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a letter written in my grandfather's handwriting, and a key. A key I recognized immediately. It was to his private estate. The one no one had been allowed to enter since his death. I stood there for a long moment, gripping the letter as the wind howled around me. Things were about to change. And not just with Quinn and Chad. My past was waking up too. I arrived at the estate just after sunrise. The long gravel road leading to my grandfather's mansion was overgrown, as if time itself had tried to bury it. Nature was reclaiming the place, but the wrought iron gate still stood tall, untouched by rust. The key in my pocket felt strangely warm, like it had been waiting for this moment just as long as I had. I stepped out of the taxi and stood before the gate. No cameras. No intercom. Just silence and the sound of morning birds chirping in the trees. I slid the key into the lock. It clicked. I paused. This house hadn't been opened in 2 years. My parents never spoke of it after the funeral. No one was allowed in. They said it was to preserve his legacy, that the place had been sealed per his final wishes. And yet here I was, holding the very key to that legacy, handed to me by a stranger in a black sedan. The gate creaked open. The mansion loomed before me like a sleeping beast. 3 stories tall, with ivy crawling up its walls, windows shuttered, and a heavy stillness that made the air feel thick. I walked up the stone steps, heart pounding, and used the key again. Inside, it was cold. Everything was exactly how I remembered. The same dark wooden floors, the same velvet curtains drawn tight, the same scent of old books and something faintly metallic. Blood? No. Not blood. Ink, maybe. The foyer led into a grand hall, with twin staircases curving upward like open arms. I ran my fingers along the banister. Dust coated every surface, untouched for months, maybe years. Except one. The door to the study. No dust. No cobwebs. The doorknob gleamed. I approached, pulse quickening. The letter said only this: everything you need is in the study. The truth, your future, and the reason I kept you hidden. Kept me hidden? I opened the door. The study was pristine. Polished floors. Fresh air. As if someone had been cleaning it every day. On the desk sat a single object, a leather-bound journal. I picked it up. On the first page was a message in my grandfather's sharp handwriting. If you're reading this, it means you survived. And if you survived, the game is on. What game? I turned the page and began to read. My grandfather had never been just a businessman. He was the architect of something far more dangerous. A shadow corporation that extended into international markets, politics, defense sectors. His fortune, estimated publicly at $50 million, was a front. The real money was in black patents, shell companies, and private networks. Offshore assets worth billions. And I was his heir. But not by name. By design. He had chosen me since I was a child, training me without my knowledge. He watched how I handled puzzles, pressure, Manipulation. The car accident that nearly killed me? Not an accident. According to the journal, someone in the board of directors had ordered the hit. They thought killing me would secure the inheritance for themselves. They had no idea my coma had accelerated the plan. Buried behind the bookshelf was a safe. I found it immediately, my childhood instinct guiding my hands. Inside were 6 things: a black card, a USB drive, 3 sealed letters, a burner phone, and a photo of my grandfather shaking hands with a woman I'd never seen before. On the back of the photo, one word. Mother. My breath caught. My mother was alive? But she had died when I was 4. Or at least, that's what I had always been told. I stared at the photo. The woman had the same eyes as me. Same sharp jawline. Same birthmark below the left ear. I'd always wondered where mine came from. I took the USB and plugged it into the laptop that still sat on the desk. The files inside were encrypted. The password field blinked. I hesitated, then typed. Mateo. Access denied. I tried again. Rios. Access denied. Then I remembered something. My grandfather used to say, legacy is not in names, it's in patterns. I typed the date of the accident. 0211. Access granted. A video file opened. It showed my grandfather, older than I remembered, sitting in this same study. His eyes were tired but sharp. If you're watching this, he began, you've finally come home. And I'm sorry for everything. You were never meant to get caught in this, but the board moved faster than I expected. You need to know something. Your father is not who you think he is. And your mother. She's alive. I sent her away to protect her, to protect you. The screen glitched. Then resumed. They'll come for you now, Mateo. Because you're the last Rios they didn't plan for. But you're also the only one I trust. Everything I built, everything I buried, it's yours now. The bank account connected to this card holds your seed fund. 25 million. But that's not the real treasure. The real power is in what you choose to do next. The video ended. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling the weight of it all crash onto me. My family had lied. My girlfriend had betrayed me. And now, my past was something out of a corporate thriller. I looked at the 3 sealed letters. One was addressed to me. One to someone named Jay. And the last. To Quinn. I froze. Why would my grandfather write a letter to her? I opened mine first. Inside was a short message. Your mother is in Buenos Aires. But she cannot know who you are. Not yet. Find her. Watch. Learn. You'll understand. My hands trembled. I opened the letter for Jay next. It was instructions. Cold, calculated. About a cleanup. About removing someone named Carson Laird from the board. It was signed at the bottom with a red fingerprint. Who was Jay? I reached for the letter to Quinn. My fingers hovered, uncertain. Part of me didn't want to know. But curiosity always wins. I opened it. Inside was a single sentence. You were never worthy. That was it. No greeting. No explanation. Just those 4 words. I laughed bitterly. Even my dead grandfather had better judgment than I did. The burner phone rang. I answered. A voice spoke, low and distorted. Your window is short. They know you're alive. The account's been pinged. You have 24 hours to disappear. Click. Silence. No more coma. No more pretending. I closed the safe, took the journal, the card, the phone, and the photo. By the time I stepped outside, the sun had risen fully. And so had I. I left the estate with the black card burning a hole in my pocket. 25 million was more than enough to vanish. But disappearing wasn't my plan. No. Not anymore. I wasn't going to run from the people who tried to kill me. I was going to dismantle them, piece by piece. I checked into a hotel under a different name. A penthouse suite downtown with a view of the city skyline, paid in full with a code embedded in the black card. The concierge didn't ask questions. That was the kind of place this was. The first thing I did was secure the USB. I had it cloned, encrypted, and placed the copy in a rented vault. Then I focused on the name in the second letter. Carson Laird. Board member. CFO of Rios International. Former mentor to my father, and the man who had, according to the journal, greenlit my accident. I pulled up his profile, charity events, press conferences, glowing financial reports. But beneath the surface? Multiple shell companies, hidden investments in defense subcontractors, ties to the corporate intelligence network known only as Glint. And most importantly, his favorite weakness. A private club called the Halberd. Men like Carson always had a vice. That was his. The next evening, dressed in a tailored black suit, one of the few things Quinn had never touched, I made my way to the club. It was discreet, membership only, and entirely illegal in at least 3 countries. I'd only been there once before, tagging along with my grandfather when I was 18. No one had paid attention to me then. Tonight, they would. The receptionist scanned the black card. A soft beep, then a small smile. "Welcome back, Mr. Rios." I stepped inside. It was everything I remembered. Cigars, low lighting, whispers behind velvet curtains. And power. Power hung in the air like perfume. Carson Laird was seated at a high table in the corner, sipping from a glass of scotch, flanked by 2 much younger women. He was laughing. Comfortable. In control. Not for long. I approached his table calmly. "Mind if I join you?" I asked. He looked up, annoyance flickering, then confusion, then disbelief. "Mateo?" he said, blinking. "You're alive," I finished. "Surprised?" His face contorted, but only for a second. Then he smiled, that oily kind of smile men in his world practiced in front of mirrors. "Well, I'll be damned," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "Come. Sit." I sat. The women looked uncomfortable. Carson dismissed them with a nod. As they left, his smile vanished. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," I replied, "but that's the thing about ghosts, they come back." He narrowed his eyes. "What do you want?" "I want you off the board." He laughed. "You think that's how it works? You show up and start making demands? You've been in a coma, Mateo. The world moved on. The company moved on." "No," I said quietly. "It didn't. You tried to move it. You failed." He leaned forward. "You have no proof of anything." I slid a photo across the table. It was from the USB. A document with his signature. The authorization for my medical transfer to a specialized clinic in a different country, dated 2 days before my accident. His fingers tightened around the glass. "That's doctored." "No, it's archived. Multiple timestamps. Blockchain verified. And the original sits in a vault. You can't erase it." He stared at me. "What are you going to do?" I leaned back. "Nothing. Not yet. I'm giving you a choice." He laughed again, but it sounded thinner this time. "You think I'll just walk away?" I smiled. "I think you'll realize this is bigger than me, Carson. Much bigger. I know about Glint. About the East Shore transfers. The offshore patents. I also know you made a deal with someone named Jay." His face turned white. "You don't even know who Jay is," he said, voice low. "Not yet," I agreed. "But I will." He stared at me for a long time. Then, with a shaky breath, he stood up. "You'll regret this." "Probably," I said. "But you'll regret staying more." He left. I exhaled slowly, my hand trembling under the table. That had been reckless. Premature. But necessary. I needed to send a message. I returned to the hotel, drained. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up. "Nice show at the Halberd," said a voice, female, cold, clipped. "But next time, don't provoke someone before you understand the game." "Who is this?" "You don't remember me. But I remember you. I'm Jay." Silence. "I thought you were a man." "You thought wrong." She continued. "You shouldn't have woken up, Mateo. Your grandfather promised to keep you out of it." "Well, he broke that promise." "No," she said. "You did. The moment you touched the USB. The moment you opened that house." I frowned. "Why did he write you a letter? Why were you part of his plan?" "I was his cleaner," she said simply. "His eraser. But now, I have my own plans." "What do you want?" "I want you gone. But I don't want to kill you. Yet." "Then what?" She paused. "Let's see how long you survive." Click. The line went dead. I stared at the phone. Then threw it across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. Someone knocked on the door. I froze. Slowly, I opened it. It was Quinn. She looked tired. Pale. Her mascara smudged like she'd been crying. "Mateo," she whispered. I need to talk to you. I almost shut the door in her face. But something in her expression stopped me. She stepped in and sat down without waiting for permission. There's something I never told you, she began. About your grandfather. My heart stopped. She looked up, eyes shining with tears. He paid me, she whispered. To stay close to you. To keep you safe. To report anything strange. I stared. What? It was just surveillance at first, she said. Check your vitals. Your routines. Nothing emotional. But then we actually fell in love. At least. I did. I couldn't breathe. And then you had the accident, she said, shaking. I panicked. They told me to stay close to Chad. That it would draw less suspicion. Who is they? She looked up. Jay, she said. And your mother. Silence. The kind that stretches too long. The kind that makes time itself stutter. My mother? I asked finally. The words scraped against my throat like broken glass. She's alive. And she's working with Jay? Quinn nodded slowly, eyes locked on mine. Your grandfather sent her away for her protection, yes. But she didn't stay gone. She built something. With Jay, something powerful. What exactly? She hesitated. An intelligence web. They called it the Silhouette Network. It started as a security project for Rios International. Quiet, internal. But when your grandfather died, it evolved. Jay took command, and your mother. She became its strategist. Its ghost. I tried to piece it together. My grandfather sends her away to keep her safe. But she partners with the same person who tried to kill me? It's not that simple, Quinn whispered. Jay didn't order the hit. It was someone else on the board. But your mother. She let it happen. Those last 4 words burned. She let it happen? I repeated. Quinn looked down. She believed you were weak. Too soft. Too sentimental. You loved people too much. That made you a liability. She thought surviving it might harden you. I stood up, pacing now. So her own son being nearly killed, that was strategy? To her, yes, Quinn said. But to me, it broke everything. I looked at her then, really looked. Her guilt wasn't fake. But that didn't mean it fixed anything. You were working for her. Sleeping beside me. Reporting on me. I stopped before the accident, she said quickly. I told her I couldn't do it anymore. I loved you. That's why. That's why you ran to Chad the moment I slipped into a coma? Her mouth opened. Closed again. Exactly. Get out, I said quietly. Mateo, please. Now. She rose, eyes glistening, and walked to the door. But before leaving, she turned. You think she wants you dead, she said. She doesn't. Not yet. But Jay does. And they're moving fast. You have less than 48 hours before they act. Act how? She hesitated. Asset seizure. Identity wipe. You'll be deleted from every legal system you've ever existed in. Passport, account access, birth records. They'll erase you. Not by killing you, but by making you a ghost. She left. I stared at the closed door for a long time. My reflection in the glass window looked foreign. My own mother. The woman I mourned every year since I was 4. The woman I remembered tucking me in at night and kissing my forehead. She had orchestrated my rebirth through fire. And now I had to find her. I opened the journal again. There was a detail I had missed, an address scribbled faintly on the inside back cover. An old safe house in Buenos Aires. The same city the letter had mentioned. My destination was clear. I left that night. By morning, I was stepping out of a hired car into the humid air of southern Argentina. The safe house was nothing like my grandfather's estate. Hidden in the back alley of a closed bookstore, guarded by retina scan and fingerprint pad. I used the key embedded in the black card's chip. The door unlocked. Inside, it was sterile and modern. Steel walls. LED lighting. Screens blinking quietly. It felt less like a house and more like a control room. A woman stood with her back to me. She didn't turn. Hello, Mateo. Her voice was smooth. Controlled. Ageless. You sound like her, I said. She turned. And there she was. My mother. Older, sharper. Wearing a tailored suit like armor. Her hair pulled back in a tight bun. But her eyes, those were still the same. Cold now, but I remembered when they used to smile. You've grown, she said. And you've lied, I replied. She didn't flinch. I had to. You wouldn't have survived otherwise. That's what everyone keeps saying. You're angry. No. I'm done being angry. I'm calculating. Her eyebrow rose slightly. A flicker of something like approval. Good, she said. Then you're ready. For what? She tapped a button. A holographic projection appeared, blueprints, dossiers, red strings linking faces. Jay thinks she controls the board. She doesn't. I do. I let her rise because she was useful. Efficient. But she's lost control. She wants full domination now. Your accident was her insurance policy. I never approved it. But I didn't stop it either. So why tell me this now? Because it's your move. I've given you everything you need. No, I said. You gave me trauma and silence. That's not the same as guidance. She looked at me, jaw tightening. You're not a child anymore, Mateo. I don't owe you comfort. I owe you victory. I stepped closer. I didn't come here to be recruited. I came for the truth. Then listen closely, she said. And for the next hour, she told me everything. About the Silhouette Network's real purpose, to root out corporate corruption, even if it meant playing dirty. About how Jay began building her own network within the network. About Quinn's recruitment, and about a secret failsafe hidden inside the Rios mainframe, a code that only I could access. The accident, she said, was meant to force your awakening. And it worked. You're stronger now. You gambled with my life. She paused. And you lived. That's what makes you dangerous now. I stared at her. I'm not your pawn. I'm not Jay's tool. And I'm not the board's heir. I'm me. And I'll burn all of it down before I let any of you control me again. She didn't stop me when I walked out. But as I reached the door, she said, Mateo, when the moment comes, you'll have to choose, expose the system and die a martyr. Or take control of it and become what your grandfather always meant for you to be. Back at the hotel, I opened the burner phone. A single message from an unknown sender blinked on the screen. Jay is moving tonight. Your accounts are frozen. The name Mateo Rios will be erased at midnight. I typed a reply. Let her try. And then I opened my laptop. Time to trigger the failsafe. At exactly midnight, the system attacked. My screen flickered once. Then again. And then every account, every credential, every digital thread that tied me to Mateo Rios began to vanish. My name disappeared from airline registries, hospital logs, school transcripts. Credit cards failed. IDs expired. A quiet deletion of existence. They called it the Ghost Protocol. Jay's signature move. But she didn't know my grandfather had planned for it. I watched the deletion begin, then activated the failsafe hidden inside the cloned USB. It wasn't just a backup. It was a reversal mechanism, a digital landmine. The moment the network flagged my identity for erasure, the failsafe triggered a recursive mirror across 4 offshore data havens, bouncing fragments of my digital identity through broken encryption chains. By the time the deletion protocol finished, 3 different versions of Mateo Rios now existed across 3 different continents. I was no longer deletable. And I was no longer just Mateo Rios. I was whoever I needed to be. When the screen stabilized, a new interface appeared, one I had never seen before. It looked like a command center. Topographical maps. Wiretap feeds. Asset trackers. A hidden layer beneath the company. The true legacy. My phone buzzed. This time, it was a video call. Jay. Her face appeared, calm as always, behind dark glasses. The background was blurred. No location trace. But I could hear seagulls. You're better than I expected, she said. He trained you well. I'm not here to impress you. She smiled faintly. No, you're here to fight me. And yet, you're using tools I built. That's where you're wrong. I'm using tools you thought were yours. She tilted her head. Clever. But pointless. You have no army. No allies. No loyalty. Quinn is broken. Your mother is colder than ever. And the board sees you as a ghost. What's your plan? To blog about it? I didn't flinch. My plan is to survive long enough to make you irrelevant. She narrowed her eyes. Then I'll make you a deal. I raised an eyebrow. You vanish, she said. Right now. Tonight. I'll restore your records. One identity. Anywhere in the world. You get 20 million. Clean. In exchange, you walk away from this war. And if I say no? Then you die, Mateo. Not today. But soon. I leaned closer to the camera. If you're offering a deal, it means you're scared. Click. She ended the call. Immediately, my firewalls lit up, attempted breaches from 5 IP locations. All blocked. All logged. She was trying to find me. I activated a signal bounce, wiped the server, and left the hotel. Time to vanish on my own terms. I went underground for 72 hours. Moved between safe houses my grandfather had marked in the journal. Rented cars under fake names. Slept in daytime cafes. Avoided cameras. No phones. On the 4th night, I received a message on a burner device I hadn't even unsealed yet. It simply said, "Closcape. Midnight. Bring the bracelet. Come alone." No signature. But I knew who it was. Quinn. I almost didn't go. Almost. But something about the message felt unfinished. Not desperate. Not remorseful. Urgent. I arrived at Closcape wearing a hoodie, cap, and tinted lenses. I scanned the crowd, spotted her at the same table we once shared during happier times. She looked different. Paler. Tired. The usual sparkle in her eyes was gone. I sat across from her, silent. She slid a flash drive across the table. "Everything I recorded for them," she said. "Every conversation, every photo, every report. From the beginning." "Why?" "Because they asked me to plant something new," she whispered. "A virus. Into your system." "And did you?" "No. But I'm marked now. Jay knows I defied her." "Then why meet me here? This is public. It's dangerous." "Because you need to know something else," she said, looking around carefully. "Chad isn't who you think he is." I blinked. "He's just a pawn." She shook her head. "No. He's Jay's half-brother." The words hit like a brick. "What?" "He wasn't just assigned to distract me. He was meant to get close to you. He's been working from inside since the beginning." I stared at her. "Then why the act? Why pretend to love you?" "Because he's loyal to Jay," she said. "But not immune. He's impulsive. He broke protocol. He told me things he shouldn't have. Like where Jay is hiding." I leaned in. "Where?" "A cargo ship docked at the southern port. Registered under a different flag every 3 days. She's moving tonight." I exhaled. "Then this is our only chance." Quinn nodded. "But you can't go alone." "And you?" She slid the bracelet I had once given her across the table. "I'm not part of this anymore." I didn't pick it up. "You said you loved me." "I still do," she whispered. "But that doesn't fix anything." "No," I agreed. "It doesn't." She stood. Looked at me one last time. Then walked away. The southern port was swarming with patrols. I slipped through the shadows, heart pounding. The manifest Quinn gave me was accurate. A cargo ship named Zephyr 9, scheduled to depart in 1 hour. Lights dim. Movement on deck. Armed guards. She was here. I crept aboard through the lower dock, bypassed the surveillance system, and made it to the upper level. I was just meters from the command cabin when the voice came. "Mateo." I spun. "Chad." Wearing combat boots and a bulletproof vest. "I told you," he said, smiling. "You should have stayed asleep." I stepped back. "You work for her." "Work?" He laughed. "She made me. Jay doesn't hire pawns. She builds family." "So that's what this is to you? A twisted legacy?" He raised his gun. "I don't need your understanding. Just your silence." A gunshot rang out. But it wasn't from him. Chad dropped to his knees, blood soaking his shirt. He collapsed. Behind him stood my mother. Gun still smoking. "Now do you understand?" she said. "What are you doing here?" "Cleaning up." "And Jay?" She pointed to the cabin. "She's in there. But you can't kill her. You need her alive." "Why?" "Because she's not the one in charge anymore." I stared at her. "Then who is?" "You." The command cabin was quiet. Almost too quiet. I stepped in slowly, heart hammering, unsure what I'd find. For all the fear, all the mystery, I expected something theatrical, screens, armed guards, maybe even a war table of sorts. But it was just a room. A single chair faced a massive panel of tinted glass overlooking the black ocean. In it sat Jay. Her hair was pulled back in a tight braid, hands resting neatly on the armrests, like a monarch waiting to pass judgment. She didn't flinch when I entered. I wondered how long it would take, she said without turning. I thought your mother would stop you. But then again, she never was good at restraint. I kept the gun lowered but ready. Turn around, I said. She did. Jay was younger than I imagined. Late 30s, maybe. Cold eyes, calm expression. Calculating. But behind that calm was something else, tension. Exhaustion. I suppose you want answers, she said. No, I replied. I want truth. She nodded. Same thing. Sit. I didn't. She let out a faint smile. I built the Silhouette network for your grandfather. It started as surveillance, then bloomed into information control. Whispers in the right ears. Nudges in the right markets. Soon we were steering economies. And killing people, I added. She didn't deny it. Sometimes, she said. Control has a price. Your accident wasn't my idea. But once it happened, I knew we had a problem. You weren't dead. Just dormant. Who gave the order? She looked up. Carson Laird. I tensed. You said he was under you. He was, she said. But he wanted more. He thought removing you would shift board loyalty. He didn't expect the failsafe. Your grandfather saw his ambition early. That's why he put the real keys in your bloodline. My mother, I said. She claims to be running this. Jay's smile was tight. Your mother is brilliant. But not a leader. She plays long games. Sacrifices pawns. Gambles emotion for structure. She left you not to protect you, but to shape you. And you? I wanted to recruit you, she said. You're not like her. You think fast. Move faster. You still believe in people. That's dangerous. And powerful. You tried to erase me. She shrugged. I warned you. But even now, I'm offering you something else. I raised the gun. I don't need your offer. She didn't even blink. You think this ends with me? You think killing me topples the network? We're beyond leaders now. We're a system. Decentralized. Self-correcting. You pull one root, 10 grow back. Then why ask me to take it? Her eyes locked on mine. Because the system needs a new face. Someone who understands loss, betrayal, silence. Someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to gain. I'm not a puppet. No, she said softly. You're the sword. Silence. You want revenge, Mateo. I see it in your eyes. You want to burn us all down. But fire is short-lived. Take the system. Control the fire. Rule it. I lowered the gun. And for a moment, I saw it. What if I did? What if I became the ghost behind the curtain? No longer hunted. No longer used. The network under my command. Not to manipulate. But to reshape. You'd step down? I asked. She nodded. Tonight. All I need is your word. That's when the door opened behind me. It was my mother. Armed. Not with a gun, but with a detonator. Jay froze. I turned slowly. What is that? She lied, my mother said calmly. She isn't offering you power. She's buying time. The ship is rigged. She planned to go down with it if you didn't accept. I looked at Jay. She didn't deny it. She's bluffing, Jay said. Your mother's always had a flair for drama. I've had enough of both of you, I said. Back up. They didn't move. I said back up. My mother's finger hovered over the trigger. I told your grandfather not to trust her, she said, nodding to Jay, but he needed someone who could do the dirty work. So he sent you away to keep his bloodline clean. But I stayed. I watched her poison everything. Jay spoke slowly. You raised a killer, but you never taught him to choose. They both looked at me now. The throne was open. But it came with consequences. Choose, Mateo, my mother said. End this. Blow the ship. Kill the network. Or, Jay said, take the helm. Control the shadows. I looked down at my hands. One held the gun. The other, the flash drive that could activate the mainframe. Legacy. Or liberation. Mateo, Jay said, softly now. We've already buried the old world. What comes next depends on you. I closed my eyes. And I made my choice. 1 week later, headlines rolled across global news. Powerful investment groups merge under new, anonymous leadership. Tech surveillance firm goes dark after data breach exposes decades of backroom deals. Disgraced CFO Carson Laird found dead in private estate, apparent suicide. None of them mentioned me. Because I didn't exist anymore. Not as Mateo Rios. Not in any system. But I was there. In the phone lines. In the shadows. Watching. And from a dark room beneath a nameless office, I typed a message. To my mother. To Jay. To the board. I'm not your heir. I'm not your weapon. I'm your reckoning. The room was silent, lit only by the blue glow of monitors and the steady blink of a secure terminal. No names on the walls. No plaques. No signs of power. And yet, it was the new center of it all. From this forgotten bunker beneath an old textile warehouse in Lisbon, I commanded what was left of the Silhouette network. The system was intact. Jay was gone. My mother had disappeared, no trail, no message. Whether she chose exile or death, I never found out. Or maybe, I stopped looking. Because the truth is, the moment you take the crown, the boy inside you dies. I reviewed the day's reports. A senator blackmailed into voting against a corrupt bill. A trafficking ring in Eastern Europe shut down by anonymous sources. A pharmaceutical monopoly fractured by a quiet leak that devalued its shares overnight. All without firing a shot. All without ever showing my face. This was power. And it was killing me. 3 weeks after assuming control, I received a letter. Not digital. Real. Handwritten. Delivered by a street vendor who didn't know who sent it. The handwriting was familiar. Quinn. Inside was a single sentence. I hope you remember who you were before the silence. No return address. No hint of where she was. But the weight of her words stayed with me longer than any encryption key or classified file. And sometimes, late at night, I asked myself, did I love her? Or did I just need to be loved by someone who saw me as more than a legacy? I had no answer. Maybe that's what hurt most. Operation Scorpion was my first major play. A global banking initiative, allegedly humanitarian, had been disguising billions in embezzled funds through post-conflict reconstruction projects. They called it relief. I called it what it was, pillage. I leaked one document. Just one. Within 48 hours, 7 CEOs stepped down, 2 were arrested, and 1 fled to a non-extradition island. But the 8th? He contacted me. On a channel no one was supposed to have. The screen lit up with a grainy feed. The man wore a clean suit, sat in a luxury office with a painting I recognized in the background. The painting had belonged to my grandfather. Mateo, he said. Or should I call you Sovereign now? I didn't respond. I knew one day you'd climb over all the bones they laid before you. And here you are. Do you know what I am? A problem, I said. He smiled. I'm the counterbalance. While you've been playing chess with board pieces, I've been teaching the board how to cheat at cards. I let you take Silhouette. I wanted you to. Why? Because Jay was emotional. Your mother? Too principled. But you. You're clean. No one left to protect. No one left to love. You're efficient. I knew the system would be safest in your hands. And now, it's time to put it to use. For who? For me, he said simply. For us. He transmitted a file, encrypted and ancient. But I knew the code. My grandfather had shown it to me once, as a riddle in a story. I unlocked it. Inside were names. Names of presidents. Judges. Scientists. Journalists. And at the top, a single word. Chimera. I stared at the screen. My blood turned to ice. You see, he said, Silhouette was never the apex. It was just a filter. The real machine was Chimera. And you're about to become its face. I sat back, breath shallow. This was deeper than I ever imagined. Everything I thought I was taking control of was a mere shell of the true empire. You don't want a partner, I said. You want a front. He leaned in. I want a king. A crowned ghost. The one everyone fears, but no one remembers. I disconnected. And stared at the file. That night, I stood on the roof of the Lisbon Tower. The wind was cold. My phone buzzed. One of my operatives. A breach had been detected. A terminal in Argentina had gone active, one we thought was dead. My mother. She had left me a message too. Just audio. The deeper you go, the harder it is to climb out. You think you're still making choices, Mateo, but the system always writes the last line. The only way out is to break the pen. I understood what she meant. But I didn't know if I still had the strength to break anything. Because by now, I was the system. In the months that followed, I operated as sovereign. I built a second silhouette, one that didn't manipulate, but redirected. Bad systems collapsed. Good ones quietly emerged. Children rescued. Cartels dismantled. But every time I slept, I dreamed of the people I couldn't save. The Mateo that had once believed love was enough. The boy who gave a bracelet in the rain. The son who waited at the window for a mother who never came back. One day, I visited my grandfather's grave. Alone. No guards. No drones. I knelt down and placed a black chess piece on the stone. The king. You built a machine, I whispered. And called it protection. But it cost everything. The wind didn't answer. But the silence said enough. A year later, my name no longer existed anywhere. But my influence was everywhere. Quinn's message still sat in a drawer. The bracelet she returned still unopened. Sometimes, I wanted to go back. To vanish. To be just a man again. But there are no kings in the real world. Only shadows. And I had become their crown.